Hello, welcome to Movie Recap Scope. Today we will recap the 2022 action thriller Troll. But before we begin, please subscribe and give us a thumbs up as it will help us grow. Spoilers ahead, watch out. Tobias, a prominent folklorist, is enthralled by the idea that trolls still prowl the Norwegian highlands, seen here at the beginning with his daughter Nora. They enjoy climbing famous western Norway's troll hills as their favorite pastime. Upon reaching the peak, he continues his story about trolls, saying legend has it, they roamed the world thousands of years ago, but when they came in contact with sunlight, they turned into stones. Young Nora is always mesmerized by these stories. But 20 years after, we're seeing her outgrowing the mystical and embracing the science, and she is now a paleontologist. After a few months on the job, she makes the life-changing discovery of a mysterious fossil and decides to celebrate. Meanwhile at Dovre Mountain, work is ongoing for a metro station. Outside stood a group of angry protesters, pleading with the government to save the mountain. But an unbothered chief disregards their objections and detonates the explosives, shattering the mountain to pieces. Shortly after, the curious clique proceeds inside the cage to check but is stunned when a roar greets them, as the mountain trembles and the mythical beast emerges from its rocky depths. Terrified, they put their feet in their hands and ran for their lives, with the debris deciding their ultimate fate. The scene cuts to Oslo at the Norwegian Armed Forces headquarters. Upon hearing the news, the general deployed a unit to obtain images of what transpired and gave directives to contact the Prime Minister. Next, the Prime Minister and her counsel Andreas can be seen heading to the military base. The Defense Minister updates them and informs them that there are over 50 casualties as he shows them some first-hand close-ups. We can see huge holes in the ground, which Andreas assumes is a footprint, but he's not qualified, so his words carry no weight. Meanwhile Nora, still in a celebratory mood with her co-workers, had her speech interrupted by the arrival of the military helicopter. A soldier informs her that the PM has summoned her. Without hesitation, she gets on the chopper as they head to the base. Upon arrival, Andreas leads her to a room filled with government officials as they try to analyze the situation. Nora joins them. They believe that some gas is the cause of the destruction, but Nora dares to differ. After examining the footprint image, she thinks some prehistoric species may have emerged from the mountain. Andreas thinks it's paranormal, but he needs to be qualified, so his words carry no weight. The officials scoff as they mock her, saying it's not one of her fossil studies. Additionally, they rule out the likelihood that an animal could be responsible. Shortly after, Sigrid, a computer whiz who also works at the Norwegian Armed Forces, barges into the room and tells them that she has retrieved video footage of the incident. She plays it, and they notice that a 150-foot tall figure emerges from the Dovre cave. This late discovery convinces them that something colossal, maybe a monster, has entered Norway. Meanwhile out of town, in a place called Lesja, a couple is having their afternoon tea when they hear a distant roar followed by the utensils trembling and falling off the table. Thinking it's an earthquake, they run to their safe underground space. When they get out, to their surprise, their home is demolished and covered in debris. Next, Nora informs the PM that she is ready to investigate the Dovre incident. The officials agree and approve as she is appointed the scientific advisory. Following the meeting, Andreas, the Prime Minister's counsel, gives Nora the 411 about the Lesja incident. They quickly take a chopper to the scene. Here, they engaged in some small conversations, as he introduced himself properly and then asked her why she became a paleontologist. The latter replies that she was always fond of nature ever since she was a child. She further stated that her father Tobias was a folklore specialist but lost contact with reality because of his extreme belief. As a result, his condition deteriorated to the point where he had to be hospitalized. Andreas then confides in her that he always wanted to be a writer and is currently working on a story about a monk that rips his head off and tosses it at his enemies so he can bite them. When they arrived at the site, they were shocked by the destruction. Shortly after, they receive a welcome from Ground Commander Chris Holmes, who briefs them on the situation and explains that the beast continues his track 2 miles south of the mountain. They combed the area but came up empty-handed. It appears as if the enormous beast vanished without a trace. Following this, they interviewed an elderly couple left traumatized by the occurrences. The wife indicates that she didn't see anything. However, she heard an ominous, strange howling-like sound similar to King Kong's. Unfortunately, the evidence wasn't conclusive, so Nora looked around. Suddenly she detects a peculiar odor that directs her to one of the enormous footprints. She then searches the area for clues, but strangely, there aren't any biological indicators. Shockingly, it appears that the creature isn't part of a living organism. Now, with all evidence leading to a dead end, Nora resolves to contact her estranged father for assistance, who lives alone in a remote area. Nora, Andreas along with Captain Chris take a helicopter to his house. Although Tobias hesitates when they meet, he calms down and invites them in. They showed him the video that Sigrid retrieved earlier. It is surprising that even until all these years, he is still researching the legendary creature known as trolls. He begins to whisper, "They are here," as he is startled by what he sees. But Nora, on the other hand, needs clarification and wants a scientific explanation, not just some legend to solve the problem they face. On the other hand, Tobias maintains his hypothesis and argues that Nora Christianization causes the trolls to become extinct. He further stated that he was this close to finding out the truth until he was shunned. He then grabs his backpack and says they are going on an adventure. Upon arrival at the location, Tobias immediately started surveying the area and noticed that the topography had changed entirely. Meanwhile, Nora detects the same off-putting scent which she refers to as hypernature. As she scans around, suddenly she notices a gigantic figure awakens from behind her. Wow! The giant troll has camouflaged himself to blend in with the surroundings. The others also saw this and quickly started the helicopter. Luckily they managed to flee just in time. When they reached a safe location, they went online and showed the video to the officials. Now everyone is convinced that the trolls are real. Following the latest development, the Prime Minister immediately sets up a military operation under Captain Chris' command. Soon hundreds of soldiers gather around the best artillery in the country and prepare to take out the beast. However, despite their best efforts, the troll seems unbothered. It appears he has regeneration powers and can smell his victim's blood. Tobias attempted to calm the monster down after he killed a soldier by stretching out his arms. He was successful to an extent, but shortly after, another truck came and sprayed the troll with bullets. As it turned and writhed in pain, it crushed the people inside. Unfortunately, it inadvertently strikes Tobias with its tail, sending him flying and tumbling to the ground. He attempts to speak to Nora, but sadly he passes away. The scene cuts to a distraught Nora, who can be seen that evening reading her father's journal to comprehend or stop the troll. After hours of reading, she discovers that trolls despise the ringing of bells and would typically throw rocks at churches. She later divulges the information to the officials, telling them to think outside the box. The defense minister doesn't want to go ahead with the idea. According to him, it's an absurd superstitious plan, but the PM and general give her the go-ahead since they have no other option. The scene shows 4 military helicopters heading toward the troll, each with a big church bell attached. The plan seems to work at first, making the troll vulnerable, but after a while, he becomes accustomed to it and later takes out some of the helicopters. Unfortunately, Nora's plan to take out the monster failed dramatically, leading to even more carnage and destruction. To make matters worse, various stations are covering the story globally. Following this, the Prime Minister addresses the nation on television to restore calm. She apologizes for her cabinet's inefficiency before declaring a state of emergency. Additionally, she urges the people of Oslo and its surroundings to evacuate their dwellings since, for some reason, the troll is moving toward them. Meanwhile, Nora loses her seat as a result of her failure. On the other hand, Andreas finds out that the government intends to attack Oslo to eliminate the troll. He has some ideas but needs to be qualified, so his words carry no weight, hence he steps down from his post. Next we see him and Nora both leave the office. Following the announcement, thousands of people can be seen forming lines on the street to leave the city. Andreas and Nora are among them. Here, the latter is still furious that she couldn't solve the troll issue and decides to read her father's journal one last time. Alas, she finds a clue. She realizes that the term Sinding appears several times in the journal. Andreas informs her that Sinding is the name of a prince that lives in Oslo's royal palace. He is reportedly among the wealthiest men in the nation. When Nora hears this, she insists they turn around and head back. She believes Oslo's royal palace may hold the key. They appear at the palace and meet Rikard Sinding, who seems to have been anticipating their arrival. He then takes them inside, telling them the truth about the trolls in Norway. In a nutshell, Tobias was right all along. The legendary creatures used to walk the country's land. At the palace, Andreas and Nora are taken to an underground tunnel. Sinding seemingly feels spiritually inclined and confesses to them that he was part of a team that wrecked Tobias' life to hide their secret. Then, noting that when he almost caught up on them, he, Sinding, personally arranged for the poor man to be sent to a mental hospital to protect the secret, and that secret happens to be the skeletal remains of a troll family underground. After the Christians killed his family and left him for dead in the mountains, the Troll King's cave became the royal palace. It's safe to say that the troll causing chaos throughout the nation is actually King Troll. This explains why the giant is traveling first to Oslo. He has been attempting to get back home. Sindings reiterates that the importance of family to a troll is unmatched. The Troll King was lured out to the Dovre mountain during the christening of Norway and imprisoned. However, he was freed by the earlier explosives and returned to Oslo to find his kids. Despite being surprised to learn the truth, Nora and Andreas are even more afraid when they know about this and are even more terrified when they see the skeletal remains of his family. Nora discovers they sizzle when she shines her UV light on the bone. This led her to conclude that trolls are sensitive to light, so she devised a plan. Next, Nora requested Sigrid lend her his biggest vehicle. He gave her a pickup truck, which is the Queen's favorite. She then calls Captain Chris and informs him about the plan. She wants the troll to be surrounded by tanning beds, exposing him to UV rays. Andrea asks his friend Sigrid at the government facility to put off the plan to bomb Oslo with missiles while Captain Chris calls for some of his fellow troops to build the troll trap. Luckily, Sigrid is an expert hacker and manages to prevent the fighter plane from launching missiles at the creature. Nevertheless, the plan is active with Andreas and Nora's swift action while Oslo remains intact. They first take off a big tarp from the truck's back and expose a baby troll's skull they had discovered underground. After driving off, they lure the approaching beast toward the UV light trap. A while later, he accidentally breaks the skull and discovers he is alone. Enraged, he turned to Andreas and Nora out of wrath and let them pay dearly. Elsewhere, at the military base, Sigrid is caught tampering with the missile system. However, the general commands to abort the missile plan when they confirm that there are civilians nearby. Meanwhile, Nora and Andreas lure the troll to their designated spot. At the same time, military vehicles surround him and begin shining massive UV lights onto him. The plan works, and the troll slowly burns. However, seeing him suffer, Nora had a last-minute change of heart. She realizes it's wrong to kill the creature, so she turns off the light and tries to save his life. She then urges the troll to go to the mountain where he is safe, but unfortunately, it is too late. Following this, there's a moment of calmness until suddenly sunrise hits, prompting the king troll to collapse into a heap. Just before he turns into a stone, Nora reaches out and touches him gently. While everyone else was in a celebratory mood, she and Andreas started wondering whether more trolls were hiding deep in Norway's mountains. She then decides they should call the area Tobias Boulder. In the final scene, we see a shot of Dovre Mountain, with a bunch of stones moving. Suddenly another troll rises from the rubble, ready to unleash its wrath on the people of Norway. Thanks for watching, please subscribe and check out our other videos. Goodbye.